Stop explaining yourself. Seriously, stop. Every time you justify your decisions to someone who didn't ask, you're bleeding respect, and you don't even know you're doing it. Here's what's really happening. Your brain thinks explaining means being understood, being transparent, being honest. Wrong. What you're actually doing is begging for approval. You're handing someone a weapon and asking them to decide if you deserve to hold it. High-status people don't explain. They state. They decide. They move. Low-status people explain, justify, and defend. And once you see this pattern, you'll notice it everywhere, in yourself, in others, in every conversation you've ever cringed at. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why over-explaining destroys respect, how your brain tricks you into doing it, and the psychological override that stops it cold. But first, you need to understand the game you've been losing. Let me paint you a picture. You're at dinner with friends. Someone asks why you're not drinking tonight. A low-status response sounds like this. Oh, well, I've been trying to cut back because I haven't been sleeping well. A high-status response sounds like this. Not feeling it tonight. See the difference? The first person is negotiating their right to exist. They're preemptively defending against judgment that hasn't even arrived. They're saying, please don't judge me. Here are all my reasons. Are they good enough? The second person already decided. The conversation ended before it started. Here's the psychology behind that. When you over-explain, your brain detects a threat. Social disapproval. Your amygdala fires, cortisol floods your system. Your verbal centers go into overdrive. You start covering every possible angle of attack. But the more you explain, the more you signal uncertainty. More words don't sound like clarity. They sound like doubt. And people pick up on it instantly, not consciously, subconsciously. They sense the need for validation, the lack of certainty, and once they sense it, respect evaporates. Here's where it gets darker. Explaining is a power transfer. Every justification hands someone else the authority to judge your reasoning. You're asking, even silently, is this okay with you? And the moment you ask that, you've placed yourself beneath them. So why do you keep doing it, even when it costs you respect? 3 reasons. First, childhood conditioning. You were trained to explain yourself. As a kid, no explanation meant punishment. Why did you do that? Explain yourself. Your brain learned a survival pattern. Explain, avoid conflict, stay safe. That pattern never left. It followed you into meetings, relationships, and everyday conversations. Second, the empathy trap. You think you're being considerate, giving context, helping people understand. But what you're really doing is assuming they're owed an explanation. They're not. Your decisions are yours. Your boundaries are yours. Your life is not a committee decision. When you over-explain, you put your autonomy up for debate. Third, fear of judgment. You're terrified of being misunderstood, of being seen as selfish, rude, or difficult. So you flood the conversation with reasons, hoping one will land. Here's the brutal truth. The people who respect you don't need an explanation. The people who don't respect you won't accept one. You cannot explain your way into respect. Now, here's the shift. Confidence is not the solution. Confidence is an outcome. What you need is an override, something that interrupts the explanation reflex before it hijacks your mouth. Here it is. 1 sentence, then silence. That's the rule. You get 1 declarative sentence, no elaboration, no justification. Examples: I'm not available that day. That doesn't work for me. I've decided to go a different direction. I'm good, thanks. Notice what's missing. No because, no backstory, no apology, just the decision. Now comes the hardest part, the silence. Your brain will panic, it will scream, fill it, explain, they're judging you. Don't. That silence is not weakness, it's power. Silence communicates, I've said what I need to say. If they push back, they have to do it openly, and most people won't. Because pushing against certainty is uncomfortable. If they keep pressing, use the broken record technique. Repeat the same sentence, same words, same tone. Like I said, I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. You're not being rude, you're being consistent, and consistency signals certainty. Here's where people mess this up. They think this means being cold, detached, emotionless. Wrong. You can be warm and kind without explaining yourself. Tone can be soft. Content must be firm. That combination is magnetic. Now let's go deeper. When you over-explain, you're signaling something dangerous. You're saying, I don't trust my own judgment. I need external validation. Others have authority over my decisions. People sense that immediately, and when they do, they adjust their behavior. They push boundaries. They test limits. They assume they can influence you, not because they're evil, but because you signaled uncertainty. Here's the respect equation. Respect equals certainty multiplied by consistency. Over-explaining destroys both. It signals doubt. It shows you'll change your stance based on reaction, and respect collapses. Now here's the counterintuitive part. When you stop explaining, some people won't like it. At first, they're used to control, used to your justifications, and when you remove that access, they get uncomfortable. Let them. The people who get angry when you stop over-explaining were benefiting from your need for approval. Their frustration is proof you're reclaiming power. That's not a problem, that's a filter. You're clearing space for higher quality relationships. Now, nuance. There are times to explain. Explain when someone has earned your trust. Explain when you're teaching or leading. Explain when you're collaborating. But notice the difference. You're informing, not justifying. Ask yourself this every time. Am I explaining because they need to know or because I need approval? If it's the second, stop. Even when someone asks why, you decide how much to share. Why are you leaving your job? I'm pursuing a better opportunity. Done. Let's close the loop. Explaining yourself is a low-status move because every explanation transfers power. It trains people to expect justification, to question your decisions, to manage you. That's a cage. And the worst part? You built it, but you can dismantle it. Starting now. Starting with the next conversation. One sentence, then silence. Here's the truth nobody tells you. When you stop explaining yourself, you're not being selfish, you're being sovereign, you're reclaiming authority over your life. And that makes people uncomfortable, because most people have surrendered theirs. That discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is respect. And respect starts with respecting yourself enough to stop begging for approval. So here's your challenge. For the next 48 hours, use the one-sentence rule. Every urge to explain, stop, state, silence, watch what happens. You'll learn more about your relationships in 2 days than you have in the last year. Your decisions don't need a defense attorney. Stop building a case, start living.